In an attempt to gain Winter Olympic status, the Cyclocross World Cup welcomes a new round this weekend. Val di Sole will be run on snow, proving to the IOC that the sport can comply with the requirements to join the Winter Olympics, which would massively up the funding for the sport. You might think that I'd have a chat about this very fascinating and very relevant topic, but no, instead I'm going to talk about the race on Saturday, the ATS course in Essen. Yep, the one I described just last week as the worst course on the calendar. I'm doing this because one day, roughly a decade ago, Essen played host to the single greatest race I've ever watched. The easiest comparison I can think of for Essen 2012 would be the 2021 Paris-Roubaix, an awe-inspiring battle involving legends of the sport, world champions and complete rank outsiders. The six-man battle that happened here was truly out of this world, so allow me to set the stage. Where nowadays Essen is the smallest course on the calendar, both in length and the area the course encompasses, back in 2012 Essen was a proper race. At the time still part of the B-Post Bound Trophy, nowadays the X2O Trophy. Essen was for a large part held in the fields surrounding the College van het Eucharistisch Hart, some kind of weird Hogwarts-esque secondary school. It's a bit strange. Where a lot of the course was admittedly a little underwhelming, a bit similar to Dendermonde, lots of running in flat fields, not huge amounts of variation. The back half of the course draws comparison to the bike park in Hamme or the end of Lille. It's a great technical set. It was very interesting racing. This year was the final year that Essen was held here, moving from Rauwmoer to the area behind the old station where the race is still now, thus also changing its name from the GP Rauwmoer to the Robotland Cyclocross from this year onwards. Early in the day it had already become apparent that the weather was going to be a pretty big factor in the day's racing. In dreadful but still doable conditions, a young Mathieu van der Poel won the junior race, destroying the other younglings so badly that even Anakin Skywalker would be impressed. As the rain continued to fall, we also got to see Corné van Kessel win the Under-23 race, and Sanne Kant hold off a small British armada to win the women's race. But then it was time for the day's real main event. The grid was packed with talent, with all eyes essentially on for what I've dubbed, for simplicity's sake, the Big Four. We had world champion Niels Albert. Alongside him you had the silent Kevin Pauwels. Next to him the Belgian champion, the cannibal Sven Nys. And of course you had the tall Klaas van Turnhout. These four were the dominant riders in cyclocross at the time. But there was one man to compete with. Zdeněk Štýbar had quit cyclocross to go full time on the road at the end of last season, doing something akin to Van Aert and Van der Poel nowadays. But Essen was a special place to Štýbar. It's the place he moved to, it's where he lived. It was his home race on Belgian soil. Spurred on by this, Štýbar had earmarked this race as his return back into the global cyclocross field, and he was still afforded a front row start. All eyes were on these five eternal competitors. As the lights went out, we got underway, we shot off the start line and flew into the field for the first time. Sven Nys led through the first few corners. That was until Marcel Meissen, yes, the same one from nowadays, he took the lead randomly. But it didn't last too long. The course was so tough, it was so difficult, that by the end of the first lap, we were down to the expected five. Nys on the front, with Albert, Štýbar, Pauwels and Van Turnhout in behind. Behind, Thijs van Amerongen found himself in complete no man's land, riding completely alone ahead of everybody else, but behind these front five. You might know of Van Amerongen, by the way, as the current day co-commentator for Dutch Eurosport, when they bothered to actually turn the commentators on for once. Behind Van Amerongen there was a huge peloton, including the likes of former double world champion Bart Wellens, Meissen, Jan de Nieuwelaere, Rob Peters and Tom Mewsen. As we entered the second lap, for the first time the tempo is really lifted as Sven Nys gives it a kick. Albert is able to follow and able to jump over that as the world champion tries to make a move. Meanwhile, two outsiders ride their way across to Van Amerongen. Rob Peters has taken a somewhat surprising silver medal at the World Championships the year before. The nephew of Quickstep DS Wilfred Peters, Rob is a rider who was always relevant, but never quite at the front. Think a bit like Corné van Kessel, someone who never quite got what they deserved. But with him came Jan de Nieuwelaere. Jan is a former motocross youngster. He moved to racing cyclocross at 18. very much a rider who would claim the occasional top 10, but was not necessarily relevant. De Nieuwelaar had shocked the year before, however, beating an at the time world champion Zdeněk Štýbar in a 2-up sprint in Bredene to claim his biggest career win. Throughout the next lap, slowly these two Chuckle brothers made their way across to the famous 5 at the front, creating a Super 7, the 7 Musketeers, something like that. But anyway, the 7 came together, and now finally we have all the players at the front for this epic tale. It took us 2 laps, but now we truly get going. The first round of the fight was over and 7 names had stood back up, but it was Klaas van Toonaert who dealt the first punch of round number 2, doing so on this very hard muddy section where most riders have to run, as behind everybody was forced to dismount as Van Toonaert just about powers through. There was one man who seemingly was riding on different terrain to everybody else. Jan de Nieuwelaar absolutely flies through this section. He was maybe a bike length off the back coming into it. By the end he's in 3rd place, rolling all the way into the wheel of Zdeněk Štýbar, acting as if the mud's not even there, like he's riding on asphalt. As Van Toonaert's attack continues, he gets stuck in the technical bike part section, and Štýbar and de Nieuwelaar are able to fly past. They've played a perfect counter. As behind the chaos erupts, Bowles' chain comes off, Štýbar suddenly makes a mistake and loses the lead. De Nieuwelaar comes across the line to start lap 3 in first, on his own, with a gap. As de Nieuwelaar keeps pressing on, Albert is the one who eventually senses the danger, the world champion closing the wheel, but he only just gets it closed by the time that we reach the sector Jan de Nieuwelaar once again, and you can all predict what happened here. De Nieuwelaar sprouts wings again. He takes 5 seconds on everyone as he flies through this sector. This time it's up to Sven Nys to power to close the gap. But again as we cross the line, de Nieuwelaar is still out in front. Throughout the next lap we see the exact same thing occur. Nys this time closes the gap, but de Nieuwelaar still leads into his sector. He absolutely guns it once more, and he blows the rest out of his wheel again. This time, however, Klaas van Toonaert is able to close the gap slightly quicker. By the time they reach the bike park, these 6 are all back together, and suddenly Kevin Bowles is back again. You thought he was done? Of course not. Meanwhile, in the background, just off the back of this group, somehow Van Amerong has now lost his saddle. I don't really know how he managed it, it's also completely irrelevant to the story, but I found it fascinating nonetheless. Anyway, back in the relevant racing, Van Toonaert's explosive effort is still going, and it looks to be shelling Albert and Štýbar off the back. The newly returned Pauwels is also immediately under pressure. With 2 laps to go, for the first time in 3 laps, Jan de Nieuwelaar is no longer in the lead. He's now in 2nd, directly in the wheel of Rob Peters. The Chuckle brothers lead the race. As Albert and Štýbar fight back on, Pauwels can't keep it. Turns out he was done after all. As the pace stays up, the 6 come back together. It's back to square one. But what does everybody have left? The 6 look around again. Nobody wants to take up the work. That is, until we reach the sector Jan de Nieuwelaar again, where suddenly this time Rob Peters takes off, flying away, blitzing through the sector, throwing everybody out of his wheel. De Nieuwelaar is caught behind and has to come around, but again is able to just about hold on and distance everybody else. And suddenly, it looks like Rob Peters might be the new favourite for this one, as he leads Jan de Nieuwelaar, and then it's Nys, Štýbar, Van Toonaert and Albert. Who could have foreseen this? Now Zdeněk Štýbar then comes round. He puts in a massive effort and claws his way up to de Nieuwelaar and goes past into 2nd. Peters just about makes it up a little hill, but Štýbar and de Nieuwelaar manage it too, as Nys gets stuck holding up Albert and Van Toonaert as well. These 3 might get away. These 3 random, unexpected people might be the ones on the podium, but suddenly Peters has inexplicably lost the lead, and it's Zdeněk Štýbar who's now in front. Then it's Jan de Nieuwelaar, and then it's Peters. He must have gone down off camera. As behind for the big Belgians, the cracks are starting to show. Nys is in trouble, Albert is giving it everything, and for Klaas van Toonaert, it looks like it could be a bridge too far. And throughout the first half of this final lap, it looks like the Cannibal might be in trouble as well. Sven Nys is feeling the pressure, he's only just hanging on, but so is his bike, and suddenly his chain goes, and it's over and out for another man. Another man falls, we're down to 4. Sensing this, Stybar makes his move, but he cannot dislodge the others. Albert flies over the top, giving it a massive punch as he tries to win both time and the race. Everybody holds on, just about hanging on until we reach that sector again. Jan de Nieuwelara's section, one more time, and again de Nieuwelare gives it everything, but this time Rob Peters seems to have figured him out, and Peters is able to just about hang on as Stybar and Albert are forced to dismount. Tired as he is, de Nieuwelare makes a small mistake and the four just about stay together as Niels Albert goes on the attack again. Is it a bridge too far for de Nieuwelare? He looks like he's struggling. It could be, or it could not be, because Albert does everything he can, but suddenly it's Stybar up the inside down the hill, and then suddenly the Czech holds the lead, and as they struggle up the hill, Jan de Nieuwelare finds another new crazy line and absolutely flies up the outside. And you cannot let people through on the final lap, but Albert's let two of them past, Peters is stuck behind, and Stybar is at full gas, coming into the back half of the course, leading all the way into the final corner. Stybar leads, de Nieuwelare on his wheel, and it's going to be a two-up sprint. It's going to be Braden again. Surely Albert and Peters are too far back. It's Braden at part 2. Will Stybar be beaten once more? He might, you know. De Nieuwelare comes round him. He's got the jump. Big Jan comes round him, but they touch. They collide on the line. De Nieuwelare goes down in a heap. Stybar leads across the line, but victory is surely not his. Peters comes home next. Maybe Rob Peters wins it? Who knows? In the drama, everybody needs a moment to think. The decision to demote an apologetic Stybar is swift. Peters looks like he's won it. De Nieuwelare is distraught at the thought. He should have won it. He believes he should have, and he's quite right to believe that as well. As the dust settles and everybody recovers just about, it's still unclear as to who's won. Sports are asking, the media are asking, the riders are asking. Nobody knows, until suddenly the race directors announce a new winner. Jan de Nieuwelare has indeed won the GP Rouwmoer in Essen, and he has done so in the most bizarre of fashions. Fitting with a race as crazy and as chaotic as this would be that the winner would win the race whilst not actually riding his bike. Falling to the ground, throwing himself over the line, de Nieuwelare edges Peters in the most bizarre photo finish you'll ever see. And with this bizarre finish, Jan de Nieuwelare can stand at the top of the podium for only the second time in his career in major races. It's an amazing achievement for a man who would never have expected this, to win one of the greatest races we've ever seen. Nowadays, de Nieuwelare is a freelance cycling trainer. He also has a YouTube channel he sometimes uses. It includes an incredible video of him, Peters and a young Wout van Aert doing an ice bucket challenge in the most bizarre fashion. Remember those days? It's a great video, go check it out. Rob Peters himself, meanwhile, retired a few years later. Nowadays he's making ends meet as a painter. Albert would go on to retire shortly after too due to a heart problem. Niels has since done all manner of things in the sport. He runs his own bike shop, he's been a DS for Wout van Aert in his early years, and nowadays he's also an analyst and co-commentator for the Belgian TV. What Zdeněk Stybar and Sven Nys have gotten up to in recent years shouldn't be too much of a mystery to everyone. So whilst you probably won't bother watching Essen this weekend, favouring Sunday's snow paradise, or maybe even the US Nationals, let us all never forget the day that Essen was the greatest racetrack in the world.